Industry Forum. This is the first of, we hope, a series of industry forums. Before we do introductions, I want to tell you a little bit about why we're doing this. Can we pull the music back just a hair more? Can we first have a round of applause for DJ Hype? Thank you so much for warming us up. So, Brandon and I cooked this up as a way to show what's possible, to bring industry professionals who are making a living in the music industry, presenting a panel like you might see at a music festival or music conference, to show people in Flint what is possible, what has been accomplished by people from Flint, from Southeast Michigan, to bring you stories from our roles in the industry, and then give you the tools to create your own path in the industry. I'm going to do some introductions. My name is actually Peacock. I was born and raised in the Flint area. I moved away in 2001 to the Cincinnati area and spent, I'm so sorry, it might be my OCD. That is like, is it okay to kill the music while we talk? I'm so sorry. Yeah, Brandon's like, we want to create atmosphere. And I'm like, I'm on the spectrum, bro. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I moved away for about 12 years and toured 14 markets east of the Mississippi. Had a pretty good amount of success with a few bands that I was in, and then moved into production, helping other artists to create not only works of art, but to create themselves, to develop talent. And moved back here to Flint 2.5 years ago on purpose. I wanted to move to downtown Flint. I wanted to put a studio in downtown Flint because I saw a city that deserved to have the headlines changed about it. And since I returned, I've been trying to listen more than I speak, trying to get reacquainted with my hometown, trying to find out what she needs, and then transition to a place where I began implementing things to give her a different voice, to empower her, to change the headlines about her. And so far that's been one person at a time, one band at a time, one artist at a time, and finding the same beliefs in myself to reawaken hope and empowerment. So I'm going to go down the line. I just want to say thank you so much, Brandon Corder, Flint native, who has gone and done some things, coming back to be part of this. Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alright, as he said, my name is Brandon Corder, or probably better known as B Corder, which is what I go by. Mostly Flint native, obviously, producer, DJ, obviously events around the country. Pretty much just an all-around creative. And yeah, I've lived in New York, I've lived in LA, and pretty much like you said, I'm just trying to basically pump some of the energy from those places and everywhere else I've been in the country back into Flint, and pretty much share my experiences and knowledge with everybody. And me and Ash came together and we were like, dude, we need to do this because a lot of people in Flint are using music as an outlet, which is a pretty good outlet, and people just need to figure out how to monetize it and stop using it. I mean, not stop using it as a hobby, but figure out how to make a career out of what you like doing. So that's my spiel for this moment. But go ahead, Joe.
Hey, my name's Joel Rash. I grew up near the corner of Pasadena and Clio. I've lived in downtown Flint since...
Joe, you grew up on Pasadena and Clio?
Leerda Street, 3605.
What's that, Merle Hood?
And when we lived there, it was the raggediest house on the block, and it stayed that way until it was torn down a couple of years ago. So my experience was more localized than these guys. I spent a couple of years in New York, put on concerts there at a venue called the Pyramid Club and a place called CBGB's. I came back to Flint knowing that the work I did was like these guys are Tiger Stadium. What I do is the Lansing Lugnuts. We're like A-ball, the first step here at the local. It's the work I enjoy, the stuff I have fun with. And I guess, these guys are more on the production side. I'm more on the promotion side. We did the shows at the Capitol Theater in the late 80s and early 90s. It was funny, Hype was playing, who was it, does Slam? Is that Onyx or DOS Effects?
That's Onyx.
Onyx. That show was Onyx, DOS Effects, and ICP. I hope somebody fired their booking agent after that tour. But I just want to say, like these guys are worth listening to. I met Ash when he was in high school, and he was a 16-year-old with a plan, and he executed that plan, which is why he has a recording studio and gets a check from ASCAP every month. I met Brandon 2007, 2008.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And he was a guy making beats on his computer, but was focused on where he was going to be down the road, not where he was that day in 2007. And he told me what he was going to do, and I'll be damned if he didn't do it. So everybody thinks that music is going to get them out of Flint. I'm disappointed that a bunch of the young rappers that are on stage here all the time aren't in this room, because they're the ones that need this message about the work you do, and they tell me how they're going to blow up, and I say, you got a better ear than B. Quarter? You work harder than John Connor? Like, tell me what it is that's going to separate you from the other 50 rappers in Flint that all are struggling to be the best rapper in Flint, and then tell me what being the best rapper in Flint does for you.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because I see those guys when I go to the party store, that in 1996 they were the best rapper in Flint, and they're still here in Flint. And I know Brandon, like his sights were set above Flint from day one.
Yeah, from day one, always hated being called like a local producer, because I feel like words are powerful. So once you put like that title over you, local, then you'll stay local. So I never wanted that title ever. I didn't care if I was still just in my bedroom on a $150 computer that me and my friend here bought, or whatever the case was. It was just that I just didn't ever consider myself local. Like, for what?
When I came back to Flint, and like I said, there was a period where I focused on listening more than speaking. I saw some things. I observed things about Flint, like there's a mentality that artists don't have permission to succeed. And when I say that, it sounds ridiculous, but it was pervasive. So many people had relegated the things that occupied most of their souls to a hobby. So many artists wake up knowing what they're made to do. They wake up saying, I'm an artist. And they work all day at the job their dad said that they had to get for stability, and then come home tired, fire up the laptop, and lose sleep with the very thing that they know they're made to do. And I want to change that. So I want to help artists have the tools to succeed, to become organizationally sound, to plan a future with a career in the industry. But I think it has to start with a shift in belief that you get to do this. You matter as a person. Your work matters as a creative individual. Flint matters. Flint's not a headline. Flint's a people. And the story matters. And you have the power, individually and collectively, to change the story of Flint. You're holding the pen right now. You get to write whatever you want. What if you got to make money doing that? That's why we're here. Did you guys get the Soul Foundry handouts? Who did not get one? I've got a few here. Would you pass these around? Raise your hand if you didn't get one, and we'll get you one.
There's more up at the front desk as well.
That's it. That is it. If we run out, I will email you PDFs of these. They're free. They're two packets. One is for songwriters specifically, and it's just a path of writing a song, but then stabilizing that song as a mechanism to create income. And the second packet is a path for artists, music artists. And it's basically a series of articles that I wrote to help you identify who you are as an artist and then communicate who you are to the rest of the world. Building a team, branding, networking. Take that home and chew on it. But these are just not only tools, but new ways of thinking. And that's what I want to bring to Flint. I want to bring ideas to Flint alongside mechanisms to implement those ideas. So Brandon, if you had to meet with an artist from Flint who was just beginning to wake up to the possibility that they could have a viable career in the music industry, not just be the best artist in Flint, but be from Flint and show the world market, what artists in Flint can do, what's the first step you would advise them to take?
Well, I guess it would kind of depend on where they're at as an artist, because obviously first you got to get the craft of having a product that's even valuable, I guess. A lot of people don't value mixing and mastering for whatever reason. For me, it doesn't matter where you record at. I've had some of the best songs recorded in some crazy places. But it's not what you record on, it's kind of, do you know what you're doing with it, first of all. And second of all, make sure you got something that's just quality in the end. A lot of people also don't believe in, or I'm not gonna say they don't believe in it, but they might not know, but getting a publicist. That was key for me in a lot of different situations. And people, I feel like, spend money in the wrong areas.
Absolutely.
A lot of times they spend money on looking good and the look of it, but nothing is really going on behind the scenes. And so if you spend money on the look of it all the time, you just gonna keep spending money on looking good and keeping up that image. But things like a publicist are very crucial, especially to like blogs and media and all of those things. So get you a good publicist. I would invest most of my money there.
Absolutely.
In a publicist, because that's going to keep you in the headlines, is a good publicist. So that would be my first start. And of course, social media. I understand a lot of artists are so stuck in the creative part of it, and I get it because I'm a creative myself, but a lot of artists are so stuck in just the creative aspect that they forget that now everything is pretty much social media driven, and they want to just keep creating, which nothing's wrong with that because you need product, but at the same time, it's like a whole nother side of it. And social media is free marketing. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? So build up social media, I would say also.
I want to give my 2 cents and unpack what he just said. Pay attention to what he just said. Write this down. What he said is have an amazing product and then let people know about it intelligently. Have an amazing product and let people know it exists intelligently. I have never worked with an artist who I'm developing that has come to me and said, who are the top 3 PR firms you recommend I work with? It's not on the radar of artists that we work with, locally and regionally. But if you're a national artist that has skin in the game, that's part of your language. It's part of the way you think. If you gave me 10 grand right now to make a project for an artist, I'd spend 7 of it on PR.
Exactly.
I would go to Earshot and be like, give me the best national campaign you can.
Exactly.
I'll make this record for 3 grand and I'll make it really, really great. And to backtrack a little bit what he said about excellence, there's the project management triangle. I don't know if you guys have heard this. You can have 2 of 3 things. You can have it good, you can have it fast, or you can have it cheap. Pick 2. And invariably, cheap is always part of the deal, which is fine. But don't let that necessarily mean that it's going to sound bad. The studio isn't gear. The studio is here. You can have very low budget gear and have something that sounds incredible if you have the proper craftsman behind it. Maybe that's you as an artist. Maybe that's a producer that you hire. But you don't have to break the bank to have an excellent product. But you must have an excellent product. What I see bands doing often is they cheap out on the product. They get a friend to make it for free or it's really, really cheap. And then they put everything they have into a CD release show. And then they might play half a dozen shows throughout the rest of the year to promote the album, and then they don't exist anymore. And then they do the same thing with the next record. They make the next cheap record. It doesn't sound very good. And put everything behind a CD release show, and then it fizzles out. They don't think about promotional campaigns. They don't think about press. They don't think about radio. They don't think about presence. And even if they did, they cheaped out on the initial product. So when people do hear about it, are they going to really take notice? Is it kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and to add on to what you were saying about PR, like me, for instance, when I'm going into working on a project or working with an artist, which I'm working on my album now, my next one, the first thing I think of is publicists. Like, I need PR. Like, so before I even record one song, which I haven't even recorded one song because it doesn't take me long to work on the project, but those are the things that are in my mind first, because I already know what I can do musically. I already know the music will be there. Like, that's not an issue, never been an issue. It's once people don't think about once you're done with the music, then what? And then they're just sitting there with the music done and nobody's hearing it. I don't know about anybody else, but to me it's not cool to just ride around with my friends, or I'm sending it to my friends in email and they're the only people that's hearing it. Like, that's not what I'm doing it for. So publicist is definitely one of the first things I think of, and I've been on pretty much almost every major blog there is, pretty much. So those are the first things that I think of.
And there are companies who do this work for a living. I mentioned Earshot as one of them. There are a lot of PR firms out there who will work a record for you. They're independent radio promoters who will work a radio campaign for you. There are press agencies that will work blogs for you. There's the PR press wire, the AP press wire, who will shop your press releases for you. It's why I sold songs in Japan.
So there's a division between talent and team, and not many people have both sides of that. I think these two have some of both, but you know, if your talent and your skill is getting on stage, performing that set, recording that album, you better have the team to back you up, or you're going to drive around in your car listening to your awesome tracks and you're the only ones that are ever going to hear it. You know, the team is who helps you make those good decisions and get your product out there. This is a true story. 2 years ago, a local rapper who at the time was at the top of the game, like a bunch of people in this room have seen him perform, did his CD release show here on this stage. And he did not have his album with him at his own CD release show because he'd used the money to get a tattoo instead and couldn't afford to pay for his CDs. So he's here unable to move around on stage because he's got a giant tattoo on his leg, so he does a terrible show, and he doesn't have CDs to sell to the 80 or 90 people that showed up to support his music because he'd spent that money on something else. That's somebody with no team. Nobody was in his ear saying, slow down, let's make a smart decision. You know, and when I think about like looking at these who's been successful coming out of Flint, and our club manager here at the local, Sarah, knows like a band like Chiodos. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. Davis and Kids, they're like an emo, more on the metal side of things. They sold 1 million records. For 10 years, made a living off of their music. Bought houses off of their music. Not mansions, but bought houses off their music. Now the band's done. The one guy just opened an insurance agency. The singer is still performing as a musician. They're back to kind of a normal life. They had a really good run because when they started, they said, we're going to do the best video we can from here in Flint, Michigan. We're going to record with the best engineers we can find, Mark Hudson, Mark Mahalik. We're going to hire the best tour manager we can find, Chris Everson. We're going to get out on the road and play every show we can. And that was a good model. Get in the van, then you get a trailer, then you get a bus, then you get on work tour. At the same time, there's a band called Panic at the Disco. They formed in their basement, in their mom's basement in Vegas. They recorded 4 songs on basically a cassette deck, and they had a major label deal before they'd ever played a show. So there's like different paths to like getting to the top. You know, John Connor, the overnight sensation, what's he been on Flint stages for 8 years, making music before he got that deal? You know, so it's figuring out who that team is. There's a local band called Sprout. The singer's older brothers are filmmakers, work in the industry, right? Everybody's a director now. Everybody's a videographer. His one brother directed videos for Taylor Swift. Every time they come home on a holiday, Christmas break, Bryce makes his brothers make a music video for his band. And the last one, it came out at 3 weeks later, had a few thousand hits, which is pretty solid for some kids from Flint. But they made the best video they could make. They did a record release show. They recorded the best album they could make. And so it's finding that talent out there. You know, if you did a swap with an up-and-coming artist, gave them a break on making a video, did a photo shoot, and then things go well for them, things are now going well for you. You know, Ash, I know, has had some big names roll through his studio. They figure out how to make it work.
Who, me? I wrote these.
Not yet. Emphasis on yet.
But it's coming.
I want to collaborate with you. We're locking that in. That's our crap. We're going to work together, okay?
No, we are on my album. Believe it or not, like before I even start a project, like I pretty much have it already mapped out. So it's just all about timing. And so when I come to you correct, and it's like, this is what we're doing. This is how I want it done. Or not necessarily just locked into how I want it done, but this is how I want us to collab and be creative. And this is what I got done so far. This is the direction, and this is what's all happening with it. Like, I'm a very visual person, so I have like the artwork done and everything, like before I even come to you or anything.
That's huge. Something I admire about Brandon is he's a man of vision. So when he says,
Exactly.
if I'm going to come to you, I'm going to come to you correct. Like, he's got everything figured out, including how he wants to participate with you in something. And he can sit down and brainstorm, but he's got 7 or 8 departments inside his brain that he can draw from that are already pretty rock solid. And what I see from a lot of artists that I produce, they don't have vision for a project, but something that is an even deeper problem, they don't know themselves. So if you don't know yourself, you can't articulate what you need from somebody you're collaborating with. If you don't know yourself, you come to a producer, and maybe the producer sees something in you that can be pulled out and formed and then communicated in a recording. Maybe you have a manager who can see something in you, pull it out and form it so it can be communicated to an audience. But spend time knowing yourself as an artist. There's an article in the packet that I handed out about branding. Understanding your identity is huge. And then from there, you know what partnerships to make. Talk about the team. I think that managers, band managers, artist managers, might be the most misunderstood role in the industry. People don't know what a manager is. People don't know the jobs that a manager does. And what I see a lot is bands say, oh, we got this new manager. But what the manager does is they book shows. So we have as a booking agent. So Brandon, in your perspective, what is a manager's job?
Well, first off, let me just start by saying this. It's a love-hate thing with people saying they have managers. And it's a love when it's done correctly. It's a hate when it's like not, and it's useless. Like why do you have a manager? You don't even have anything to manage. But you know, for me, I manage an artist that's in Chicago actually. But it's just because I love his music. Like I never really wanted to be a manager per se. But overall, my overall goal is just music mogul. However, a manager, like you said, it isn't book shows. Obviously, because we have booking agents. For me, a manager is managing, like, you're literally managing like a lot of different aspects of this person's career, and it blends over into like the personal life as well. So for me, it's to keep that artist like on track. And since I'm such a visionary that I have like all these creative like ideas, but a lot of times managers aren't like don't do anything like musically, so it's a little different when like managers try to give like creative advice and they don't necessarily like create or do anything musically. So, but since I do, I offer like my artists advice on just musical things. Yeah, it's not my job to go around like I'm gonna go book you these shows, but of course if I see an opportunity, then I'm like, yeah, we should jump on this. Or in my case too, I create my own shows, so it's like, hey, yeah, of course you're on this show. But yeah, to me, to sum it up, what a manager does is they are literally keeping that artist like on track, focused. If you're writing down goals, which I advise everybody to do, if you're writing down goals, making sure those goals are executed, making sure we're staying on track. If the artist has to, whatever shows are being booked, making sure that the artist is there on time, making sure the artist has everything that they need, or the venue, in that case, has everything that you guys might need. Basically, communicating with all parties involved so that the artist doesn't have to worry about that. Like, the artist shouldn't have to worry about communicating with anybody. The artist's job is to be creative and to create music. So not only do managers get that confused, but the artists get that confused also. Because if you have somebody that's supposedly your manager, then you also have to allow them to manage and don't cross paths with them either and let them do their job, because if you're not going to let them do their job, then you shouldn't have them as your manager, or if you don't feel comfortable with them doing that. But to me, a lot of times, like I said, it's a love-hate thing. Like, I love it, but then sometimes it's just like, this is just useless, and it's just a title that people want to have, or they'll have their friend who just want to be involved, or whatever the case is, and it's not really being used like it's supposed to. But
Right. Bad management is way worse than no management at all.
there you go.
And the other thing is managers get a cut, so they own part of you. If you need an accountant, hire an accountant, they work hourly. You need an attorney to take care of your contracts, you hire an attorney, you pay them and they're done. You get a bad relationship with a manager, there's lawsuits, it drags on forever, they get a percentage of your
Gross receipts.
revenue. Yeah, it's
Up to 20% of everything you make, gross receipts. Managers are a big deal.
so you need somebody really good at it. I had a question, because we talked a little bit about performing. Who in here has actually performed on this stage?
All right.
Oh yeah, I see quite a few. Jeff's guy hiding in the corner over there. Jeff's wrecked this stage. So this is the local. This is step one. Nothing against y'all that raised your hands, but we'll let almost anybody get up on this stage, because we're a youth performing arts venue. It's an alcohol-free space. People need a reason to get on this stage and perform. So, Jeff's established, he knows what he's doing with the mic in his hand. He's got beats, he's got partners. He performs here as a favor to us. He hosts a show as a favor to us. There's a lot of young acts that 2 hands on the mic, feet nailed to the stage, trying to keep track of where they are in the song. They need to get on this stage over and over again until they can put on a show and open for established acts, learn more about what people are doing to make themselves successful, get better at it until they're ready to get out and do bigger shows, bigger venues. We tell this story, John Connor's performed down here several times, but he did a show one time, I think for the Tapology kids, and got booked on the show third hand, didn't know the audience, got down here 45 minutes before showtime and realized there was all middle school kids. You've heard John Connor. He went upstairs and rewrote the lyrics to his entire set to get rid of all the profanity. Headphones on, in the corner office, and he went over his set 3 times to get it right, to get on this stage, perform to a crowd smaller than this. So, and I think about how many acts that aren't established, have never got paid to perform, who would have blown the show off, would have faked their way through it, would have just used that language and said, hey, that's my set. But there's a reason that guy's got a label deal and has had some success, because he works at it every minute, was flexible, figured out what was going on, didn't want to disappoint anybody, and got up here and killed it. And he only slipped up once, and he added an extra verse into the song, and the verse was something like, you might have thought I just said, I didn't, I really said, and like rolled with it. And the kids and the parents thought it was great. He left there with more fans than he came in with. And the fact that John Connor can show up an hour before the show, be ready, and we book a bunch of high school kids, and people are coming in, they're coming in 10 minutes after their own set was supposed to start. Like, you're 17, what else did you have to be doing other than being here ready to get on stage and perform your own set? And, we want people to like learn, just like we can learn about recording, production, events. the live performance is a whole different side of that, that, you know, some people it's instinctive, they just need to practice. You know, we're talking with the folks that are going to be reopening the Capitol Theater about a year from now. It'll be up and running. Maybe next August they'll be doing some trial shows. And it's like, yeah, this is just the local. A big packed for us is 300 people. You know, Capitol Theater's got 1,600 seats and a dance floor in the front. And in the 90s, there were Flint acts on that stage. Dayton Family killed it in there, right? The Mafia, Jake the Flake, all these folks are on that stage, and there's going to be Flint acts on that stage again, but they're going to get booked on those shows because they can prove that they're professional enough and can draw enough audience to merit an opening slot for a much bigger act. And so that's what, you know, we're telling the young artists that are here, like, this is the time to get it together, to be serious, because, you know, when we were booking Rage Against the Machine in Cypress Hill, somebody from Flint gets to open that show, right? When Fishbone and Primus were playing, somebody from Flint gets to open that show. And the opening slots don't go to the people whose friends think they're really cool. It's going to be the ones that have stuff that you can play on the radio, that are performing shows consistently, good shows and smart shows, and can show up on time, can push some tickets, can send in, and now, as you guys know, even when you get to book an opening act on that, you have to send it to the touring acts management to get approved to be on it. You better have a good sounding track, or they're just going to say, nope, next.
I think it all comes down to worth. You have to know your worth as a person, as an artist. And then you will act out of that worth. If you want to have a professional career, if you want to be treated like a professional, act like a professional. And you don't act like a professional by putting on a facade. You act like a professional because you believe that you have something worth professing. You gotta have something to manage. And Brandon, like, he is all over the place. And some people might look at that, man, like he is doing all this stuff. Is it just hype? Is he just talking about what he's doing? Sit across from him, look him in the eye. It's a man who knows his worth. And he acts out of that worth.
A couple days ago, an old friend of ours that played in bands, he's the owner-operator of Storm Cloud Brewery, which is up by Sleeping Bear Dunes. They're building a new multi-million-dollar giant facility. I haven't heard from him in years, and I get a Facebook message. He said, hey, is there really a Beats Times Beers at the local? How can we get involved? Can we send some kegs down?
Why you didn't tell me that, Joe?
Because we're an all-ages venue and there's not going to be any kegs in here. No, so what I did is I got his email, because Facebook is not the most professional way to make an introduction. But it's like, this is a guy in northern Michigan that knows the brand and knows the value, and he's saying, how can I get involved down there? How can we get B Quarter up here? And let me just, as we talked about branding a little bit, we have a case study in branding right next to us.
Absolutely.
Good Boy Clothing Company.
Shout out. Oh, thanks for coming. Love you.
Sponsors.
Look at this setup. Look at the consistency, the quality of the product, the signage. That's how you do branding. If you're a musical act and you can put together a suite of product that's good, your life gets a lot easier because people will know how serious you are.
Since y'all came, and I'm gonna go ahead and just put this out there because I like just putting stuff into the universe anyway. But yeah, so we're doing a collab actually called Good Beats, and yeah, it'll be sometime next year. But just thought I'd throw it out there.
So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to get some closing comments from Ash.
Now, I think we should do.
And then we're gonna go into Q&A.
Okay, but real quick, can we just talk about like the things like that you've done, Ash, and just like a little bit more in-depth like credits or anything, and then I'll do the same. And then after that, we can roll into.
You asking me to show off, B?
Huh?
You asking me to show off?
Yeah, because I feel like people need to know.
You first, because I don't want to shoot too low.
Possible. No, you go ahead. You first. Go ahead.
I will say what I've accomplished in terms of encouragement for what you can accomplish. When I moved out of Flint in 2001, I had already been touring a little bit. I had a day job, and on the weekends I would tour. And in 2001, I went full time, and I opened up to 14 markets east of the Mississippi as a solo artist, and then took on a band. And things happened very fast. From the get-go, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to do it with excellence. I knew I wanted to grow in my craft, and I wanted to grow in my relationships. And I did that. I leveraged my position to get better at what I do and to grow my network, build my team. So I established contacts, not just in Cincinnati, but in Nashville, Atlanta, and all over the place. And in Nashville, I got signed to a manager, and the manager opened doors for me. And from there, made some records that did some things, got placed in movies and TV shows, and signed to different management. And both of those managers were blessings to me that really showed me the possibilities of what I was capable of and opened doors I could not have opened on my own. A manager creates opportunities for an artist, but also prepares the artist for those opportunities. And that's exactly what I saw happen in both of those scenarios. So the first manager actually went on to invent some crazy technology, and it's used on every record that you hear. I'm not even kidding. He invented a technology that's used on every pop record made right now. And now he's inventing some solar panels that are changing the world. The second manager discovered the Pixies and really launched my career into a place where there was a lot of momentum. And I worked hard for it, but I was prepared for the opportunities when the opportunities came. And I'll tell you this, if you are working hard and if you are talented, things will happen fast. The music industry is smaller than you think.
It is.
And people talk. You are being watched. If you are talented and if you work hard, something will happen. You can't wait to get discovered. People want to be discovered. They want to stand in line for American Idol for 8 hours and be discovered.
Yeah.
You have to be developed.
Let me add on to that real quick. So, a lot of people think the end goal is what's living the dream, but the path to the end goal is you living your dream right now. This is your dream. All the work that you put in, that's the dream, because that's what it takes to get to the end goal. And once you get to the end goal, a lot of people, obviously, you appreciate the getting to it a lot more once you're there. But a lot of people fail to enjoy like this part of it because they're so focused on I gotta get to the end. But you need to enjoy the way up as well.
Absolutely. Be developed, not discovered. So I moved to Cincinnati in February 2001. By December, I'd met with Nirvana's lawyer, Creed's lawyer, president of Universal Records, the Fontaine Brothers studio owners in Nashville. Like, I was there. I was having these meetings. And then inside of 2 more years, Maxim magazine called my band one of the top 10 unsigned bands in the country, and we were doing amazing things. Atlantic Records had an offer on the table, and I said no. I found out my wife was pregnant, and I stopped everything. I retired on the spot. But inside of 4 years, I was there. If you're talented and you work hard, it will happen. And if it's not happening, find out where you can do better. But it's a small world, the music industry.
So just my background, I'm gonna try to like shorten it up as much as possible. But I've been making beats for forever, for a really long time anyway. But I would say I probably caught my stride around 2009, 2009, I want to say. The very first song I did that was like, oh man, this is like a newer level. Was a song I did with Currency and one of his artists, Trademark, and it was kind of something. It really, like, it literally happened overnight. Like, no joke. It was. I got a call that it was like, yo, Currency on one of your beats. I'm like, yeah, right. And like the song came out the next day. So that was, and I always refer back to that song because that was that moment for me that was like, wow, I can really do this on another level. Like, I was so excited that I had a headache like the whole night. Like, and I'm like, wow, in the first place it comes out at is, it was Dame Dash's website at the time. So it came out on his site. That was the first place they dropped it at. And that was like really it for me. So from that point forward, I did like a couple more songs with them. And from those songs, I ended up getting a manager, quote unquote. And then I moved to New York because I believe in taking risks. So I'm gonna jump out there no matter what, if it's a lesson or a blessing. I'm all in. So I'm gonna win no matter what. So moved to New York and stayed out there for a while. But this manager, I hadn't met him really before or anything like that. He was just like, you can just come out here and stay with me. And so I'm like, man, you know what? I'm out here. And I took a refund check at the time. I took a refund check and moved. And I'm like, man, I can just like take online classes. And of course, I fell so far behind in them online classes that didn't work out. But I didn't care because I was in New York anyway. So I stayed out there for a while. Then I ended up coming back here because the management situation didn't work out and all of that. But while I was there, I used to go, he introduced me to like a few people. So I would always make sure I maintain those relationships. I used to go to this radio station all the time to where me and the head dude got so cool that he would tell me when anybody was coming up there to bring some beats, and I'm gonna sit you in the studio with them or whatever the case is. So I used to do that all the time. And it came to a point where that refund money was running out. So I was on like $5 a day. Like, you gotta like manage off like $5 a day. So that's like, you gotta sit down like some days and figure out if you're gonna eat or you're gonna catch the train. But that was my time in New York, but I met a lot of cool people. Came back here. I'm still working on albums and everything. Like, in the process, I still did more songs with Currency and everybody. But a cool backstory on New York was I get a call from that radio, the dude at the radio. He calls me. This is after I'm back here, maybe like a year or so, and he like, you want to get in this contest? I'm working with Vibe magazine for this contest. You want to get in this to produce a song for the Big Crit? He like, well, even if you don't win, it's still a win because it's something that's gonna go viral for everybody that's participating. So we ended up entering the contest or whatever. Like, the end goal wasn't really to win. It was just like, let's just enter and see where it goes. But we ended up just winning, and like it was so crazy because like the contest was supposed to last like a while, like a month and a half or something like that. And it was like these different rounds or whatever. But we was killing it so much, like each round, that Crit was like, in the contest, I just want them. And so Vibe flew us to Vibe and McDonald's flew us to Atlanta to do the song Big Crit. But I'm saying that to say that if I didn't take that leap to New York and meet the dude at the radio station, then we wouldn't have never had a Big Crit record.
You never know. You're just ready.
Yeah, I'm just moving. And since then, done scores on MTV, VH1, ESPN, TV1. Actually, the song on ESPN radio, I think it still plays like every day. Work with obviously Big Crit and Currency, but D1 who signed to RCA. Who else? A bunch of other people. Then I went to go live in LA for a while, which was a crazy experience too. And I'm just a big on contacts and networking and all of that. And so I've been really good friends with O'Shea Jackson Jr., who's Ice Cube's son. But I'm so good with it, like I can see potential before it even like blows up or whatever. So we've been like friends long before like Straight Outta Compton movie came out and all of that. And I was already in good. We were already doing songs and everything. Well, that's another person I did songs with. But we were already doing songs and everything. And then that was just a relationship that was just bubbling. So we had a chance to like sit down with Ice Cube and just do all these different things. But yeah, that's pretty much my backstory, condensed down a lot. There's a lot more to it and a lot more details to what's been done. But yeah, the main thing is like you gotta take risks and you can't be scared to really take them because it's gonna cost you. It's always gonna cost you, but the reward will be greater in the end. And right at that moment, it might not feel like it, but I'm telling you, the reward will always be greater in the end because you'll always get a lesson from it or whatever the case is.
There's no path in front of you. You are the path. You decide what the path is, and you find out what the path is after you've walked down it. Like I said, a lot of his opportunities he didn't plan on. What he planned on was himself. And when the door presented itself, he just opened it because he was ready for it. I want to go ahead and open the floor to some questions. First, thank you so much, Tim Walsh, for videotaping the event tonight and for doing the Facebook live stream. Are there any questions, by chance, that are coming in on Facebook at all? Okay.
Nothing yet.
Hi, Facebook land. Just so you know, you guys can write us questions if you're watching. I know some people were out in California trying to catch it tonight. But I want to just invite anybody here to ask a question about the industry. Can be specific, can be more conceptual, and Brandon and I will do our best to give our perspective on it.
One thing I'd like to ask, so when I speak to a lot of artists around my age group, around 20, they all want to leave the city and just kind of say F the city. Like they feel like there's nothing to offer here, but at the same time, I see the growth potential here. How can not only we, but as a community, start bringing it back to the city instead of bringing it just building artists, letting them go, and not having nothing to show for it but a name? I want this to become a new icon for Michigan instead of just Detroit and the other cities. Because we were a city at one point. Why not make it a new one?
Invest in yourself and stay. I've been to other markets. Like I said, I cut my teeth in Cincinnati and Nashville mostly. And what I saw there are things that I wanted to bring back to Flint. So you have cities that are high concentrations of folks in the industry. And there's a culture there of industry, and it's just standard operating procedure for you to have affiliation with a PRO, to have publishing contacts, and a day job. It's just the culture there. Coming back to Flint, there wasn't a culture of that. There wasn't a culture of being a professional in the industry, so people didn't know how to function as a professional in the industry. So for me personally, I decided two things. One, to come back to Flint, invest in myself and stay. And then to model that for other people. So to do things like this, to begin to teach people a new way of thinking, a new way of speaking, a new language, and a new set of tools so that they can invest in themselves and then model that for other people. Invest in yourself and then open your arms to other people to help them invest in themselves.
Yeah, and to add on to what he's saying, for me, I personally don't think moving away is necessarily a bad thing, because I felt like I had to move away for a little bit to see what else is out there that's possible to do, to be able to bring that back here. And at that point in time, I probably felt like, man, I just want to get away, and not come back type of thing. But once like you kind of get in those spaces, it's always like something in you that's like, or it was always something in me anyway, that was like, I want to bring these experiences back to Flint, because every time I would come back, people would be, or I would call somebody at home, they would be amazed by these like experiences and everything. And the only way that you really get to experience like certain things is by exploring and going other places. So it's not like necessarily a bad thing per se, but to not come back, I feel like is a bad thing. But you gotta go to explore.
Any other questions?
Thank you guys for coming. I love the stories and the topics and things like that. And you gave your reason why you didn't sign because of your wife. Would you have signed if she hadn't been pregnant? Would you have signed the deal?
I would have and I should have. What I did is, looking back, I overcorrected. I thought that I wasn't able. What I told my manager was, tell Atlantic that if they're going to sign me, they're going to sign an artist who won't tour, because I don't want to leave my new child for weeks on end. And he's British. He says, well, I can't really tell them that now, can I? So we knew what the decision was, and he dropped me, because what are you going to do? You're going to work an artist who's just going to stay home and write songs? That's not what he wanted to do. I should have worked to find a way to still function as an artist and a father. It would not have been easy, but I'll tell you, it would have been easier than what happened. What happened was I went through a 5-year cycle of depression because I stopped creating. I was made to make, and I learned the hard way that I can't not make. So I should have found a way to continue to create things as I was creating life. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. Part I left out of my story that I should have probably added was, we were offered like a publishing deal twice. And I say this to a lot of artists, is like getting signed is simply that, is signing some paper. That's what getting signed is. But understand what it is that you sign in and what that means, and don't do anything just out of desperation. So those two situations didn't pan out, but they didn't pan out for a reason. And they were offered by Johnny Shipes, who was Big Chris' manager. He's not his manager anymore, but he was his manager, and he was kind of instrumental in his Def Jam deal when he signed in. And then, I did the same thing, because I was kind of depressed about it. My daughter was getting ready to be born, and we had literally, I had spent my last dollars to go to New York to sit in his living room, and him to be like, man, we got y'all money ready. We have your money ready right now. So of course, it was maybe a month away from when my daughter was about to be born. And I'm like, yes, this is right on time type thing. And the situation didn't pan out like I thought it would. And I got in a space too, where it was man, I'm kind of depressed and I'm not creating. And I got a baby on the way. It was a real crazy thing. But D1 sat me down, and he, to this day, this piece of information always stuck with me. And he was like, he was asking me about it because he knew like we had the deal on the table, and he was like, dude, don't ever stop creating, because if these people are paying attention to you, you better believe it's a ton of other people paying attention to you that don't know all the crazy stuff that's going on with the deal. Only thing they see is you stopped. So if you stop, then that's all they see is you stopping. So from that point forward, he was like, don't ever stop the boat. Just always keep moving no matter what. And from that point forward, I've never stopped anything. So if it's not creating music, I'm always creating something. Like, there's always gonna be something you're gonna see, period.
Other questions?
All right,
Thanks so much
so-
for coming.
No problem. I'm gonna just kind of get some advice from both of y'all. I'm a producer in the area. I work with a team of other producers, like 3 or 4 of us. And what we've been focusing on lately is just trying to work with artists and I guess kind of more so help guide the career from a production standpoint. At a point in time, a lot of people were like pushing for us to start a label, but due to the fact that from a production standpoint, we produce multiple genres, and just not wanting to have to be branded by the artist that we decide to start our label with, we kind of chose to try to stay a production company and work with artists to help them become independent companies that contract and basically partner with our production company to produce a product and then release it to the market. What I'm having an issue with and what we're running into a lot of concern or problems with is we get a talented artist, they have a resume, they have material, but when it comes to sitting them down and wanting to talk to them about, like you said, publishing, copywriting material, it just turns to a left field conversation where we're stuck with the issue of they want to create. The artist's job is to create. So in that, as a production company, we're trying to pick up the slack and say, okay, well, you just create and we'll kind of facilitate on the other end. But it seems like it's risky. It seems like as a production company, we'll be doing a lot to build and brand the artist, and then there won't be a direct connection to us. So at that point, I guess we feel like they can step off and basically leave us where we are. But what I'm thinking is, at the same time, if we are a part of creating that original product that helps them step off, as long as everything is in place, then you will see that our name is there. But I just don't know if that's an intelligent way to think, because I'm not really well versed in what's going on, or what. So what is your opinion? What do you guys think?
What is your value, and how is the return on the investment coming at you? So I understand it's a significant investment in the artist as a producer, as a developer. What you're doing is developing an artist. So you're getting into evolved territory beyond production. And just tell you a story, artists that I'm trying to break, and I began working with them 2 years ago, in November. Sat down, wrote songs from the get-go, coached them on live show, and a little bit of branding, and they took off because they had wonderful work ethic. So they were talented, they had work ethic. That's why I wanted to engage them in the first place. Started to write songs for them. Really got them on tracks. And day one, I said, sit down, register your copyrights, pick a PRO, ASCAP or BMI, whatever, and register with your performing rights organization. And then we'll talk. 2 years went by. And I went over to their house and literally sat down next to them in front of the computer and walked them through the ASCAP sign up. And it's not their fault. And it's not my fault. It's not how their brain's wired. They're wired to make music. And I had to understand that if they were going to take the necessary steps to solidify their internal organization, they needed help. But my time is valuable. So do I bill? Do I do like billable hours with them while I walk them through the administrative steps to take? Do I roll that into the flat rate as a producer? Do I just say, hey, you know what? I wrote the songs, so I got points on the record, and that's my return? Your time is valuable. Where's the return coming from in working with the artist? And there's a million ways you can design that, but you have to recognize at first what you have. Sit down with the artist and design something that works for both of you. Because you don't want to shame them for not being able to accomplish what you can help them with.
Right.
You want to empower them. But if they can't do it, they need help. Is you helping them sacrificing what you do? Just build value into what you do and find a way to protect it.
Yeah, that was really good, Ash. Kind of took everything from me. But no, what I will say simply is man, just know what you worth. Period. And I feel like that's what spaces like this are for, because a lot of artists are exactly how you described. Like, they don't really care about that flip side of it. They just care about creating at that moment. And there are some artists out there with, you know what I'm saying, good hearts, good intentions to when things, you know, get moving or whatever, they still gonna mess with the same people they started with, or if not, give you credit or whatever the case is if they do move on. But I'm gonna say about 70% of the time that's not the case. So, I mean, if any artist refuse to or back down from that part, and I feel like that's a lot in like Flint, like, because nobody in other in bigger cities really, I mean, it's just standard, it just is what it is, like, but here in Flint, people feel they just, I don't know, they just resist like business or something. I don't know, I don't get it. They just, yeah, so they, a lot of times they get scared. They think like, oh, you trying to, everybody in Flint so worried about getting messed over, pretty much.
We do it for free. Like, I sit down with people, I try to do conventions where we just kind of bring everybody in. I work at like the Boys and Girls Club, so like you said, some of our groups that perform down here, we working with the youth, we're working with a lot of the, I mean, I work with everybody, I'm not a lot. But what happens is, even in talking to them, it's like, okay, well, you can come to the lab, we got 2 laptops. I sit you down, I want to walk you through it, because we have a strong record between the 2 of us. If I do the paperwork and we make $1 million, I don't want you coming back to me not understanding why you got 400,000.
The money's out there,
Right.
and if you
I want you to know.
don't claim it, it's just going to sit there. How many people know what Sound Exchange is? Yeah, you sign up for free. It's a non-profit performing rights organization that's different from ASCAP. They track digital streaming, digital performances, and they track performances on a recording. So if you were a session musician, a featured session musician, you get paid out of this general pool of money that's just sitting there.
Exactly.
Unless you go sign up for free.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's just know your worth. And if anybody resists business, I wouldn't do business with them. And that's just me, because I mean, it could be because of the point that I'm at now. It's like, I mean, my time is more valuable than what you talking about, probably. So if anybody resists business, they ain't worth doing business with.
I'm more stubborn. I want to change the culture. I want to wake Flint up. He's smarter than me.
So we've got time for one more, but then talking about the value of people's time, we've got a couple of assets here that are going to stick around, so you can get some free FaceTime with 2 of the most competent producers, promoters, creators in Flint. Obviously, you know what these guys are up to. If you want to talk about performing here at the local or getting somebody, a young person in your life involved here at the local, Sarah is our club manager. You can talk to them, you can catch me, and we can tell you how the booking process works.
My name is Dejan Buckler. I'm an artist. My name is Snoop the Noob. I go by that. I started out rapping, and I was mastering, mixing my own music, because for the most part I was always, they not on the same plan as me, or they not trying to do what I'm trying to do, so I wanted to get it done, and I had a certain time I wanted it done, so I did everything by myself. But as far as getting a team made, I noticed you said a team is important, so somebody else, you know, I'm trying to do everything, like record videos by myself and all that, but as far as the team, how important it really is a team, like, because
I'm be honest with you. And I feel like going back to being from Flint, like, we forced to do a lot of things on our own, because just a lot of art and creative stuff don't really exist here. There's more of a blue collar, like, that world just really don't exist here like that, and that's why we having like these types of discussions and everything. But ultimately, a team is important, but don't just put people on your team. You gotta have the right people on your team, because not having the right people will be worse than not having anybody at all. So I would say a team is very important, but having the right people on your team is way more important.
Can I take it from here?
It's no like blueprint to getting like the right people. They just come. I feel like that's kind of an organic thing that has to happen with teams, because as soon as you try to force a team, it usually doesn't work right unless you're actually like has that person on like a payroll or something. Because especially it's tricky at the beginning stages when it ain't money really moving around like that. People don't want to do, of course, don't want to do work for free, or if they do want to do work, then they want to do it on their own time and probably not even when it needs to be done. And you don't want to be too pushy, but you need to be pushy because it needs to be done, type of thing. So I would say a team is more important for it to be built organically to me. And I've had several different teams, but anybody who knows me know I don't have a problem. I just keep moving. And if you ain't keeping up with me, then you just ain't on my team no more.
Don't build your relationships, don't build your team, don't make any decisions based on formula. Don't say, I need a booking agent, I need a manager, I need a publicist, I guess I should check all these boxes. Make your decisions based on values. And you establish values by asking yourself a lot of very analytical questions. For instance, what can you do that no one else can do? Answer that question, and then find everything that is outside of the answer to that question, and find someone to do those things.
Add to what he's saying. Put people on your team that specialize in something. Don't go get all your friends and be like, hey, this the team. Like, okay, so what everybody on the team do? Everybody on the team is rappers. So what we gonna do? Everybody on the team ain't Kobe. Like, we can't win no championships with all Kobe's. So put people on your team that specialize in different aspects and different things. That way it can all work together, and everybody can win. But a lot of people make that mistake of, because I'm guilty too. I've been doing this for a while. I'm guilty too, and you be like, man, these are all my boys, like, this the team. And then you start assigning roles, and they gotta go research what the role is, because they don't even know what the role is. Put people on your team that specialize in these roles or whatever you're trying to fill. That's really important, because once you get people on your team that are experts in all these different areas, then that's when it can really start working together. But if you don't have experts in these areas, and it's kind of like we just putting people there just to fill a position, then it's not gonna work. I can guarantee you 200% it ain't gonna work.
Is that fair?
All right, I think that's a great...
I think he just messing with me. He messing with me.
So, two things I'd ask you to do for me. One, on that note about putting your team together, I see a ton of talent in this room, and I know about half the people in here a little bit. Before you leave this room, find a couple people you don't know, shake their hands, see what they're working on. You might have team members sitting right next to you and you don't even know their skill set. And then the second thing, let's give a hand to Ash and Brandon for putting this together.
I want to close with one thing. On our way out to the left side of the exit way there's a counter full of materials. Please take all those materials with you. Except the sign-up sheet for DIME. If you don't know what DIME is, it's the Detroit Institute of Music Education. It's a school set up downtown Detroit of professionals. If you want to take the next steps in a career as a musician, or if you want, they're accredited degrees. They'll give you a bachelor's degree. in their programs, whether you want to get more proficient in an instrument or whether you want to focus on the production side, the business side of things. Go check out Dime. You can sign up for the newsletter, get information from them right in Detroit. It's a fantastic resource. There's only 2 of them in the country, and Detroit has one of them. I'm going to have a future panelist from Dime. He's a current drummer for the Four Tops come and do this again. Also, grab some business cards, and please do shake our hand on the way out. Thank you so much for supporting this, and thank you so much for supporting
wait. So don't leave out of here without getting at least like one person number or something, or exchange a card or something. I don't know. I mean, I contribute a lot of my success to, I'm just a mover and shaker. Like, I scope out the room before I'm in it. Like, I already know, like, pretty much I can see who's doing what and who's who. And I say to a lot of artists that the people that you see on the forefront are not the people that you necessarily need to know. Those are not the people that's making the moves or making decisions, or if you really want to be honest, those are not the people that's cutting checks. So, know who you around, know who hands you need to be shaking, period.
And thanks to Hype for playing us out.
Thanks, Hype.
Thanks, Hype.
You'll see Oakland and Denver on the way out, too.